Welcome. We hope you are all fine, and thanks for tuning in to our talk. Like our title suggests, the next minutes are all about sneaking in virtual reality games. Before we dive into this topic, let's start by taking a look at stealth games for PC or console. The sneaking mechanism in such games often comprises two different gameplay aspects. The first and most evident one is taking cover. Players must avoid getting seen by the enemies, for example by hiding behind obstacles. Apart from this visual aspect, many games also include sound-based sneaking. In the game The Last of Us, players encounter a blind enemy type that relies entirely on hearing. In this case, it is more important to sneak quietly than to stay out of sight. If we now turn towards VR games, the interaction fidelity is much more limited. While most stealth games use visual hiding, auditory aspects are usually not considered at all. In consequence, players must sneak from cover to cover, but do not have to mind their own gait. Considering that VR games are all about presence and realism, we believe that stealthy experiences could greatly profit from improving this status quo. Therefore, our goal was to design a sneaking interaction that considers both the visibility and the player's gait. So, how could this work? Let's have a look. Here, the player just walks normally through the room, and even though the guard is looking in the opposite direction, it still hears the player's steps and turns around. Let's try again. This time, the player walks more carefully and places the feet slowly on the ground. Paying attention to the own gait allows the player to steal the tablet without getting detected. Now, to assess the potential of such a sneaking technique, we first designed three different concepts. Our first approach is derived from existing stealth implementations. The players use joystick controls to move. To avoid detection, they may activate a dedicated sneaking mode, limiting their virtual walking speed below the threshold. However, this approach does not use the benefits of natural interactions. So, in our second concept, we replaced gamepad locomotion with real walking. The gait is now emulated with the HMD's velocity. If the players walk slowly, this is considered sneaking and won't attract attention. Both concepts introduce sneaking as an input modality, but they still do not measure the actual gait. So for our final prototype, we attached hardware trackers to the player's feet. To detect the gait, we use a simple observation. At every step, the player's foot is mainly stopped upon impact with the ground. Dropping it more forcefully naturally leads to more noisy steps. We can use this idea to distinguish between sneaking and walking by measuring the feet deceleration. This final implementation forces the players to place every step carefully, which mimics sneaking in real life. After implementing our three concepts, we conducted a between-subject study. Participants completed a stealth game with 10 levels, similar to the one I showed earlier, before filling a set of questionnaires. So, let's quickly go over our key findings. All three conditions ensured fun gameplay. However, the two walking-based approaches, especially the tracker one, required a much higher physical effort. As a result, both conditions offered a significantly greater challenge and tension. Players rated this difficulty generally positive, as it made them aware of their own body. This feedback is ultimately also reflected in significantly higher presence scores. Even though these results show that our body-based sneaking greatly benefits presence, challenge, and tension, the differences between the two approaches are only minor and mainly concern tracking precision and physical activity. Therefore, our more abstract HMD concept turned out to be the best compromise among the three conditions. It works with the default hardware, offers a very similar experience compared to the tracker concept, and, most importantly, received overall very positive feedback. Many participants in this group later often described their impression that the game reacted to individual steps, even though this was of course not the case. Our results emphasize the importance of focusing more on the user's expectations than on realistic behavior. In our case, players directly associated sneaking with walking slowly, and therefore mainly approved our HMD concept. Even though this makes precise foot tracking somewhat unnecessary in our context, there are still other useful applications for tracker-based gait analysis. For example, one could play with precisely synchronized footstep sounds to boost immersion even further, or use a technical basis to develop new training simulations, like teaching dance. We hope that our work has given you a first glimpse into the great potential of gait-related interactions in virtual environments. Thanks for listening. I now look forward to your questions and comments.